Before we begin, this broadcast is a fictional audio drama created for entertainment purposes. Good evening, I'm John Vale. We're beginning special coverage tonight of the close approach of Asteroid Apophis. For months, observatories, universities, space agencies, and amateur astronomy groups have been preparing for this. For many people, this is the closest they will ever come to seeing something that once lived in the public imagination as a possible catastrophe. That is part of why tonight feels strange. The official position is clear. Apophis is not on an impact path. There is no evacuation order, no shelter order, no coastal warning, no emergency action for the public. The asteroid is expected to pass safely. That has been repeated all week, and it remains true as of the latest tracking update. Still, people are watching. A lot of people, they're viewing events at planetariums, school fields, observatories, public parks, desert roads, beaches, rooftops, and dark sky sites across the world. Some people are there because they love astronomy. Some are there because they remember being afraid of Apophis years ago. Some are there because, honestly, if something that famous is passing close to Earth, you want to be able to say you looked up. And some are there because reassurance is not the same thing as seeing it miss. That's human. You can trust the math and still want the sky to prove it. Apophis is currently approaching the closest part of its flyby. Tracking stations report the asteroid remains within its expected corridor. Speed, brightness, distance, and projected path are all within predicted ranges. No deviation, no fragmentation, no debris field, no atmospheric entry, nothing that indicates danger. The asteroid is doing what scientists said it would do. It is going to pass. Mara Ellison is here with me tonight. Mara, what's the public mood looking like?
It's mixed. Not panic, at least not in most places, more like nervous excitement. You can see it in the public feeds. People are smiling, but they keep checking their phones. Kids are excited because they're being told that little moving point is an asteroid. Adults are pretending to be calm because the kids are there. There's this strange feeling of a public science event with a shadow underneath it. Like everyone knows the safe version of the story. Everyone has heard it. But the name Apophis still does something to people. A woman at a viewing site in Arizona told a local reporter, "I know it's safe, but I wanted to watch it leave." That's the mood. People don't only want to see it arrive, they want to see it go.
Yeah, that makes sense. Watching it leave may be the part people are actually here for. We're about 35 minutes from closest approach. For anyone listening from a visible region, local astronomy groups are asking people to be careful around roads and viewing areas. Don't stop on highway shoulders. Don't block observatory entrances. Don't point lasers at the sky. Keep headlights low near telescope groups if possible. And if you can't see Apophis from where you are, you're not missing an emergency instruction. There is nothing you need to do. This is a viewing event, not a survival event. That distinction matters. We have a statement from the Planetary Hazard Office, quote, "Apophis remains on its predicted close approach trajectory. No impact risk has been identified. The public is advised to enjoy the flyby safely and rely on verified observatory feeds for tracking information." End quote. Short and clear. No impact risk. Enjoy safely. Use verified feeds. That last part matters because false clips are already spreading. Some show old asteroid simulations, some are edited telescope feeds, some are dramatic animations labeled as live footage. If you see a video of a giant burning rock filling the sky, that is not Apophis tonight. The actual view is much less dramatic. It looks like a moving point of light, a dot crossing a field of stars. That may seem disappointing, but it's also the comfort. If Apophis looked dramatic to the naked eye, we'd be having a very different conversation. We're now getting high-resolution radar tracking as the asteroid enters the best observation window. This is the part scientists have been waiting for: shape modeling, spin analysis, surface mapping. Precise trajectory refinement. This flyby is not only a public event, it is a scientific opportunity. Apophis is close enough tonight that researchers can improve models that will be used for decades. That's one of the odd things about objects like this. They frighten us, and then they teach us. Sometimes the same object does both. Mara, you have a few messages from public viewing sites?
Yeah. One from a teacher in Nevada says, "My students keep asking if the asteroid is mad at us. I told them rocks don't get mad." Then one of them asked why it has such a scary name. Fair question. Another one from a man in New Jersey. My father used to joke that Apophis would cancel his mortgage. He died 3 years ago. I'm watching it tonight because he would have wanted to see it miss. And this one from a woman in Spain, I know it is safe. I know it is safe. But my hands still got cold when I saw the dot moving. That's probably a lot of people. Knowing something and feeling it are not always the same process.
No, they're not. And tonight is full of that gap. People know Apophis is going to miss, but their bodies are still watching something large pass close to home. We are 28 minutes from closest approach. Latest numbers remain nominal. The asteroid is slightly brighter than some early public estimates, but still within the expected range. Radar lock is strong. Optical tracking is strong. International observatories are confirming the same path. No impact corridor, no correction needed. No emergency. There is a live stream from the Meridian Observatory Network showing Apophis as a small white point moving through a star field. The feed is calm, almost quiet. You can hear people in the background talking softly. And every now and then someone laughs because they finally spot it. That's one of the things people forget about astronomy. It often doesn't look like the poster. It looks like patience, a little dot, a tiny shift, someone saying, there, see it? And then suddenly your mind catches up with what you're actually seeing. That dot is not a plane, not a satellite, not a star. It is a piece of ancient rock moving past Earth at enormous speed. It was here long before any of us. It will leave again. And for a few hours, we get to watch. We have a brief update from the Planetary Hazard Office. They are asking media outlets to avoid using impact animations in live coverage unless clearly labeled as historical or hypothetical. Good. That's responsible. You can't keep showing fireballs over cities while telling people everything is fine. The human brain does not always read the caption, so if you're watching coverage elsewhere, just pay attention to labels. Simulations are not live images. Hypothetical impact graphics are not current risk maps. Red lines on old diagrams do not mean danger tonight. Tonight's real path remains safe. 20 minutes from closest approach, still nominal. Apophis is now close enough that some amateur observers with the right equipment can see its motion over short intervals. The public chat feeds are full of people saying the same thing. I saw it move. That may be the moment it becomes real for a lot of them. Not the name, not the news. The motion. A star does not do that in your telescope. Apophis does. Mara, how are people reacting at the big watch sites?
It's quieter than I expected, not silent, but there's a lot of whispering. I think people expected to cheer when they saw it, but then once they do, it feels a little too serious for cheering. There's a feed from a school in New Mexico where the teacher keeps reminding kids not to bump the telescope. They're all taking turns, and you can see every kid step away with the same face, like they expected a movie and got something more real. There's also a lot of older people watching. That stands out to me. People who remember the early Apophis headlines. People who remember when it was first talked about like a future disaster. For them, tonight is not only astronomy, it's a fear they carried for years finally passing overhead. One man said, it missed us before it even arrived. I like that.
That's good. It missed us before it arrived. That is the best version of tonight. We're now 15 minutes from closest approach. Tracking remains clean. I'm being told there was a minor timestamp discrepancy between two public feeds, but that is a streaming synchronization issue, not an asteroid tracking issue. Happens all the time. Video feeds are delayed differently depending on source, processing, and platform. So if one live stream appears a few seconds behind another, do not read that as Apophis changing speed. That is the feed, not the asteroid. Actually, hold on. We're getting a note from the Meridian Network. They are reviewing a small timing discrepancy in one observational data set. This is not an emergency. Let me be clear. Not an emergency. It appears one optical tracking station recorded Apophis crossing a reference point slightly later than predicted. We're talking about a very small difference, and it may be instrument calibration, timestamp drift, atmospheric distortion, or data processing delay. These things happen. The central tracking solution has not changed. No impact risk, no trajectory warning, but the station is reviewing it. We'll keep an eye on that. 14 minutes from closest approach, radar still nominal, optical review ongoing at Meridian Station 7. The public should not draw any conclusion from that. One station showing a small timing discrepancy does not override the global tracking network. We have a message from a listener named Tomas in Florida. He writes, I'm watching with my daughter. She asked, what happens if the scientists are wrong? I told her they aren't. Then I realized I don't know if I said that for her or me. That's honest. And I think many parents have had some version of that conversation tonight. The responsible answer is the scientists are not wrong about the impact risk. Apophis is not on a collision path, but the emotional answer is harder because children hear certainty differently. They need it to sleep. Adults give it even when they're still calming themselves down. That's not dishonesty. That's care. We have an update. The timing discrepancy has now been observed in 2 additional optical data sets. Still small, still under review. Radar tracking has not issued any trajectory change. The Planetary Hazard Office says Apophis remains on safe path. So again, this is not an impact update. This is a measurement update. The asteroid appears in a few optical records to be arriving at certain reference points slightly later than expected. That could mean many things. Most of them boring. Data synchronization, reference correction, atmospheric drag is not relevant at this distance, so not that. But processing errors, clock calibration, ephemeris refinement, all possible scientists are checking. That is what they should do. Mara?
The mood online changed immediately. The word late is everywhere now, which is interesting because late sounds so ordinary. A bus is late, a person is late, a package is late. But when an asteroid is late, people don't know what to do with that. It makes it feel like it has a schedule, like it missed a beat. And I know that's not how orbital mechanics works, but public language matters. People are asking, how can it be late if the path is safe? That's the question right now.
Right. And the answer is small timing discrepancies can happen in measurement without meaning the path is dangerous. That may be unsatisfying, but it's true. The orbit solution is built from many sources, not one feed. Right now, the safe path projection remains unchanged. We are 10 minutes from closest approach. Radar stations are now performing what's being called a high-confidence timing check. That sounds dramatic. It is probably standard in response to the optical reports. No emergency language from officials. No change to public guidance. We have another statement from the Planetary Hazard Office. Quote, several optical tracking reports show minor timing variance under active review. Current radar-derived trajectory remains within safe close approach parameters. No impact risk has been identified. End quote. That is the key phrase. Radar-derived trajectory remains safe. No impact risk. The optical timing variance is being reviewed, but the asteroid is still not headed for Earth. 7 minutes from closest approach. The public feeds have gotten quieter. You can hear it. Less joking, more waiting. The asteroid still looks the same, of course, a dot moving through a dark field. Nothing about the image screams danger. Maybe that's why people keep refreshing the numbers. The sky doesn't explain itself. The numbers have to. We have a radar update. Closest approach. Timing is being revised by a few seconds later than the published estimate. That is not unheard of in refined tracking during a close approach. I want to make that clear. Public estimates are refined as better data comes in, but because of the earlier optical reports, this will get attention. Apophis is now projected to reach closest approach slightly later than the public schedule. Still safe, still no impact path. Distance at closest approach remains within safe margin. No emergency action. Mara? I'm watching the comments from watch sites. People seem to be reacting more to the word revised than the actual numbers.
Yeah, because most people don't understand the scale. If you tell people a huge asteroid is a few seconds late, they don't think tracking refinement. They think something changed. And maybe something did change in the data, but that doesn't mean danger. The problem is fear doesn't like technical nuance. Fear wants yes or no, hit or miss, safe or not safe. And right now, officials are saying safe but revised. That second word weakens the first one emotionally, even if it shouldn't.
Exactly. Safe but revised. That's a difficult phrase for the public. We are 4 minutes from revised closest approach. Radar remains strong. No impact warning. The asteroid remains outside Earth's atmosphere and outside any collision corridor. Satellite operators have not issued emergency collision alerts beyond normal precautionary tracking adjustments. Communication's normal. Power normal, tides irrelevant here, but normal. No seismic activity related to the flyby. Everything on Earth is normal. The event remains in the sky and in the data. 3 minutes. We have a clean radar image coming in from the planetary array. Apophis appears elongated, irregular, rotating within expected range. Surface return strength is slightly uneven, but that is normal for an irregular body. No fragmentation, no plume, no debris, no visible structural breakup. The asteroid is intact. 2 minutes. Public watch sites are counting down in some places. Officials are not encouraging countdowns, but people do what people do. I'll say this. If you're watching with children, keep it calm. This is not a launch. This is not a disaster clock. It is a close pass. Let it be that. 1 minute to revised closest approach. The Planetary Hazard Office confirms all stations remain green, no impact risk. Safe passage expected. 30 seconds. Radar lock stable. Optical tracking stable. Distance closing to minimum. No anomaly reported in the last update. Closest approach. Apophis is at closest approach now. Radar confirms closest approach. The asteroid has passed minimum distance. It is moving through the expected safe corridor. No impact, no atmospheric entry, no debris strike, no emergency. Apophis has missed Earth. You can hear the applause on some of the observatory feeds. People are cheering now. There it is. That is the moment people wanted. Apophis has passed closest approach. The asteroid missed. The math held. The world is still here, Mara.
There's a lot of relief. You can see people hugging at the watch sites. Some are laughing because they were more nervous than they wanted to admit. There's a little boy on one feed asking if it's gone now, and his mother keeps saying, it's leaving, it's leaving. That's the phrase, it's leaving. That may be what people needed to hear.
Yes, it's leaving. We're now in the post-closest approach tracking phase. The asteroid should continue away from Earth along its outbound path. Scientists will continue to observe it for hours and days, refining future models and studying any changes caused by the flyby. But the immediate public concern, the impact concern, is over. Apophis has passed. Earth was not hit. There was no impact event. We have a message from the Planetary Hazard Office. Quote, Apophis has completed safe closest approach. No impact occurred. Continued observations are underway. We thank international partners and the public for safe participation in tonight's event. End quote. There you go. Safe closest approach. No impact occurred. That is the official statement. We're going to remain on air for a little while longer because these events have a long tail. People will have questions. There may be additional scientific updates from the flyby. And given the earlier timing refinement, we'll keep following post-pass tracking just to make sure the information stays clear. But this is the important part. Apophis missed. Hold on. We're getting reports now from several emergency call centers of a spike in distress calls, not accident calls, not impact reports. Distress calls, people reporting panic symptoms, confusion, and I'm reading this carefully, people reporting memories of an impact. That may be post-event anxiety. It may be panic after a stressful viewing event. It may be people who were already frightened and are now processing it physically. Emergency services are asking people not to call unless they need immediate help, but the phrasing here is unusual. Memories of an impact. We'll keep monitoring that. Again, there was no impact. Apophis missed Earth. That is confirmed. We have another note. Hospitals in 3 regions are reporting patients arriving with acute stress symptoms after watching the flyby. Some are saying they remember a flash. Some remember a pressure wave. Some remember emergency alerts that did not occur. This may be mass panic after the close approach. That is possible. Human beings can experience vivid fear responses, especially after prolonged anxiety, but the reports are coming in quickly. Mara, are you seeing this online too?
Yes. At first I thought it was just people posting jokes or fake stories, but it's spreading fast. People are saying, I remember it hitting, not I was afraid it would hit, not I imagined it. They're saying they remember it. There's one post from a woman who says she watched the ocean pull back before a wave. She's inland right now, nowhere near the ocean. Another person says he remembers glass coming through his living room window, but his window is fine. A man says he remembers holding his daughter during the impact and she's asleep upstairs. These could be panic stories, they could be copycat posts, but they are coming in from a lot of places at once.
Okay, we need to be careful, very careful. Apophis did not hit Earth. There is no physical impact, no crater, no tsunami, no shockwave, no seismic event, no atmospheric entry. The asteroid passed safely. That is confirmed. What we are now seeing are reports of people remembering an event that did not happen. That is the new story, not an impact, a memory of impact. We have a public health advisory now being drafted. Emergency departments are asking people experiencing panic, intrusive memories, or distress after the flyby to seek help through appropriate channels, but not to overwhelm emergency lines unless they are in immediate danger. Again, Apophis missed. The world is physically intact, but something is happening in people's memories, or at least people are reporting that it is. We have one more report before we pause. A hospital in Oregon has admitted 12 patients from a public viewing site. All reported memories of the same phrase from an emergency broadcast that did not air. The phrase is, "Do not look toward the flash." That phrase is now appearing in posts from multiple regions. Do not look toward the flash. There was no flash. There was no impact. There was no broadcast. But people remember hearing it. We're going to continue. For now, the official situation is this. Apophis safely passed Earth. No impact occurred. No physical disaster has been detected. But shortly after closest approach, people in multiple locations began reporting vivid memories of an impact event that did not happen. Some of those memories appear to share details. We are no longer covering an asteroid impact. We are covering the memory of one, and that may be much harder to explain. We're continuing. I'm John Vale. Mayor Ellison is here with me, and the situation has changed from a planetary flyby into something public health officials are now calling a mass traumatic memory event. That is the phrase being used in the first coordinated advisory. Mass traumatic memory event, it's a cold phrase. It doesn't really capture what people are describing, but it gives hospitals and emergency agencies a way to talk about it without saying the impossible too quickly. Here is what we know. Apophis passed Earth safely. That remains true. There was no impact, no airburst, no ocean strike, no crater, no tsunami, no debris, rain, no global shockwave, no physical disaster. The asteroid is now moving away from Earth along its outbound path, and tracking stations continue to confirm that. But shortly after closest approach, people in multiple countries began reporting vivid memories of an impact that did not happen. Not dreams, not predictions, not fears. Memories. At least that is how they are describing them. They remember warning alerts. They remember a flash. They remember windows breaking. They remember heat. They remember phones failing. They remember running down stairwells. They remember children screaming. They remember cities being named on emergency broadcasts. Some remember being injured. Some remember dying, and yet they are physically here. Their homes are standing. Their families are alive. The sky is calm. The asteroid missed. That contradiction is where the world is now. We have the first public health advisory. I'm going to read part of it. Quote, emergency departments and crisis lines are reporting increased cases of acute distress following the Apophis close approach. Patients describe vivid intrusive memories of an impact event inconsistent with observed physical reality. The public is advised that no asteroid impact occurred. Individuals experiencing confusion, panic, dissociation, or distressing false memory episodes should seek appropriate mental health support and avoid unsafe behavior. End quote. So the official medical framing right now is false memory episodes. That may be accurate. It may be incomplete. We don't know yet. But that is the attempt to keep people grounded. No impact occurred. If you remember one, you are remembering something that does not match the physical world around you. That does not make the fear feel fake, but it means you are safe right now. You are here. Your body is here. The world is here. Start there. Mara, what are you seeing from people who say they remember it?
It's not like normal panic posting. That's what feels different. I mean, yes, there are fake posts, there are jokes, there are people exaggerating, because that always happens, but there are also messages that feel, I don't know, too specific. People are not just saying, I thought it hit. They're saying things like, I remember the emergency alert tone repeating 3 times, or I remember dust coming through the vents, or I remember my wife asking if the schools had shelters. There's one from a man in Boston who says he remembers being trapped in an underground parking garage with strangers after the sky went orange. He says he can still name two of the strangers, but he has never met them in this life. That's the phrase people are starting to use, in this life. And I don't love that. I don't think we should accept that framing too quickly, but it's appearing. Another woman wrote, "My son is alive in his room, but I remember finding his shoes in the hallway after the glass came in." That one is hard to read, because what do you do with grief when the person is alive? Where does it go?
Yeah, that may be the core of this. People are grieving deaths that did not happen, and the people they are grieving are sometimes sitting right beside them. We have an update from hospitals now. Emergency departments are seeing patients with no physical injuries, but with reported pain memories. That means people are describing burns, pressure injuries, hearing loss, blindness, crushed limbs, things like that. But exams show no corresponding injury. Some patients report feeling pain in places where, in the remembered impact, they were hurt. Doctors are calling it psychosomatic pain for now. That does not mean the pain is fake. It means the body is producing real pain without the physical injury that would normally cause it. Trauma can do that. The mind and body are not separate machines. But the scale here is unusual, and the timing is very unusual. We have a confirmed number from the Emergency Health Coordination Desk. More than 8,000 Apophis-related distress cases have been reported globally in the first hour after closest approach. That number includes crisis hotline calls, emergency room presentations, public safety calls, and psychiatric emergency contacts. Not all of those are memory cases. Some are panic, some are fear responses. Some are people reacting to rumors. But a significant subset involves impact memories. Officials are still trying to count that subset. They are asking clinicians to record recurring details carefully without leading patients. That's important, without leading patients. Because if doctors ask, "Did you see a flash?" people may begin incorporating that into their memory. So clinicians are being told to ask open questions. What do you remember? Not, did this happen? This is going to matter because the details are starting to match. We have a list of recurring details from verified clinical reports. I'll give a few. A warning phrase, "Do not look toward the flash." A second phrase, "Apophis has made contact." A location phrase, "Atlantic primary zone." A repeated timestamp matching the moment of closest approach, and a visual detail, a bright horizontal line across the eastern sky. These are being reported in multiple languages by people in different regions who, according to early review, were not connected and were not all watching the same live feed. Again, that does not prove an alternate event. It proves shared content in the reports. That alone is significant. Mara, the phrase, "do not look toward the flash," seems to be everywhere now.
And it's interesting because it sounds like a public safety instruction. It sounds like something official. People remember hearing it from phones, radios, television, public address speakers, even car dashboards. But no such alert was issued tonight. There was no flash to look toward. There was no impact warning. Still, people are describing the same rhythm of it. Some say it came after an emergency tone. Some say it sounded automated. A woman in Dublin said she remembers covering her baby's eyes when she heard it. Her baby is fine. The baby was never in danger, but she says her arms still ache from holding him so tightly in the memory. That is what scares me. The body is reacting like it did something, like it survived something, even though nothing happened here.
Here is doing a lot of work in that sentence. Nothing happened here. That's where this gets uncomfortable. We have a statement from the Planetary Hazard Office. They are trying to keep the asteroid facts separate from the memory reports. Quote, "Apophis safely completed closest approach and is receding from Earth. Tracking confirms no physical impact, atmospheric entry, fragmentation event, or hazardous debris interaction." Current reports of remembered impact scenarios are not supported by planetary observation data. End quote. Good. That needs to stay clear. The asteroid missed. Whatever is happening in memory is not because Earth was secretly hit. There is no hidden crater, no covered-up tsunami, no unreported fireball. The physical evidence is overwhelming. No impact occurred. The impossible part is not the asteroid's path. The impossible part is what people remember. We have a new report from the Cognitive Crisis Network that is a temporary coordination group formed after the first hospital reports They say the strongest memory cases appear concentrated among people who directly observed Apophis during closest approach. That includes naked eye observation where possible, telescope viewing, live stream viewing, and public observatory feeds. Not everyone who watched has memories. Most do not, as far as we know. But people who were watching appear overrepresented in the cases. That suggests, and I'm going to be careful here, that the trigger may be observational. Not physical impact, not airborne exposure, not disease. Possibly something related to seeing Apophis, or seeing data from it, or being focused on it at the moment of closest approach. That is preliminary, but it changes the public advice. Officials are now asking people who feel distressed to stop watching replay footage for the time being, not because the footage is dangerous in a confirmed way, because repeated viewing may worsen symptoms or trigger additional false memory episodes. So if you are upset, turn off the feeds. Do not re-watch the closest approach clip over and over. Do not scrub through the footage looking for the moment something entered your mind. That will not help. Ground yourself, look at your room, talk to someone physically near you, drink water, and if you need medical or mental health support, use appropriate services. Mara, are people afraid to look at recordings now?
Some are. Some people are deleting videos they took. Others are watching them obsessively, trying to find what caused the memory. And then there are people who didn't watch Apophis at all, but are now watching clips to see if they get the memory too. Please don't do that. I know curiosity is strong, but this is not the night to test your nervous system for fun. If there is even a chance that watching the footage is connected to these episodes, don't make yourself a volunteer experiment in your bedroom. And I know that sounds blunt, but people are already daring each other online. Watch the clip and see if you remember. That's reckless, it's cruel, and it may hurt people.
Yes, do not do that. Do not challenge people to watch Apophis footage. Do not dare them into distress. We have a case report now from a hospital in Denver, shared with patient consent, but anonymized. The patient is a 34-year-old man who watched the flyby through a public telescope. Approximately 6 minutes after closest approach, he began crying and asked staff at the viewing site why the sirens had stopped. There were no sirens. He later described remembering a citywide evacuation order after Atlantic primary contact. He remembered driving west with his sister. His sister is alive and she was at home during the flyby. The patient was able to provide a street address where he said they sheltered. That address exists. But the building there is a grocery store. He described it as an emergency water distribution center. Again, no such event occurred, but his distress was real enough that he required sedation. He is now stable. Doctors are documenting similar cases. People remember infrastructure from the disaster world built over the world we still have. A grocery store that was a shelter, a school that was a triage site, a stadium that was a morgue, a highway that was closed by military vehicles. None of it happened here. But people remember navigating it. We have another recurring memory detail, a broadcast phrase, Apophis has made contact. That phrase has now been reported in at least 14 clinical interviews. People remember hearing it after the warning not to look toward the flash. No such broadcast was transmitted. No national alert system used that phrase. Officials are checking whether the phrase appeared in any movie, game, old documentary, or viral post that could have primed people. That's a good step because shared media can produce shared language. But so far, no obvious source has been found.
The phrase is so official sounding. Apophis has made contact. It sounds like the kind of thing a broadcaster would say when trying not to scream. And I think that's part of why people believe the memory. It has the texture of a real emergency, not dramatic, not cinematic, just cold. Contact, like the asteroid, is a spacecraft docking, but it means impact. People remember hearing it and knowing everything after that was different. A man wrote, "That was the sentence where I understood my wife was dead. His wife is alive." She posted underneath him saying, "I'm here." And he replied, "I know, I'm sorry, I know, I'm sorry, I know." That might be what a lot of families are going through tonight.
Yeah, alive people reassuring loved ones who remember losing them. I don't know how you even begin to process that. We have a government advisory now. Quote, members of the public reporting vivid memories inconsistent with current reality should avoid driving, operating machinery, or making major decisions until symptoms stabilize. Confirm your surroundings. Contact trusted individuals. Do not assume remembered events correspond to present danger, end quote. That is important. Do not assume remembered events correspond to present danger. If you remember a bridge collapse, do not run from a bridge unless there is an actual current hazard. If you remember a tsunami, check official warnings before fleeing. If you remember a loved one dying, confirm where they are, but do not panic drive across the city in a dissociative state. The danger now may come from people reacting to memories as if they are current emergencies, and that can create real harm. We have reports of several car accidents already linked to people leaving viewing sites in distress. No confirmed fatalities at this time, but multiple injuries. Please do not drive if you are disoriented. If you are at a viewing site and feel strange, tell someone. Sit down. Ask for help. You do not need to be embarrassed. Something unusual is happening to a lot of people. Take it seriously, but stay grounded. We have a scientific update. A review of Apophis tracking data shows no unusual emission at closest approach, no optical flash, no electromagnetic pulse detected by standard monitoring systems, no gravitational anomaly, no atmospheric disturbance, nothing obvious that would explain a memory event. That means researchers are now looking at less direct possibilities: signal contamination, collective stress response, media priming, unknown neurological trigger, data feed artifact. Something tied to the act of observation. That last one is not official language, but it is being discussed in scientific circles now, the act of observation. Not in the mystical sense, in the practical sense that many cases involve people watching the asteroid through mediated systems, telescopes, cameras, live streams, sensor-processed images. If the trigger is in visual data, it may not require the asteroid to emit anything obvious. Again, preliminary, no conclusion, but officials are taking viewing history from patients. Mara, I want to make sure we don't accidentally make this sound like anyone who watched is doomed.
Right. Most people who watched are fine. That needs to be said clearly. Millions of people watched Apophis tonight. The number of reported cases is still a small fraction of viewers. So if you watched and you feel okay, you don't need to sit there waiting for a memory to hit you. And if you watched and feel anxious because we're talking about this, that doesn't mean you have the event. Anxiety is expected tonight. It would be strange if nobody felt anxious. Maybe turn off coverage for a while. Eat something. Check in with a real person. Don't stare at your own mind waiting for it to betray you. That can become its own trap.
We have another set of matched memories. This one is disturbing, but we need to report it carefully. A number of people in different countries remember the sky turning white at the horizon, followed by a delay before the pressure wave. The delay varies depending on where they say they were. Some describe minutes, some describe longer. That suggests the memories include geographical distance from an impact site, or at least the mind is constructing one. The remembered impact location most often reported is the Atlantic Ocean, specifically a region being called Atlantic Primary Zone in remembered emergency broadcasts. No such term exists in current emergency planning, according to officials, but it is recurring in the memories. Atlantic Primary Zone, do not look toward the flash. Apophis has made contact. These phrases are now being treated as shared memory content. Again, not proof of an event, but shared content. We have a listener message from Claire in Virginia. She writes, "My husband watched Apophis with our son. He came inside shaking and asked where the basement radio was. We don't have a basement. We never had a basement. He keeps saying we spent 3 days down there after the wave." Claire, if you are listening, please make sure your husband is not alone right now. If he is disoriented, contact local medical support or a crisis line. Keep him away from driving or anything dangerous until he stabilizes. And for anyone experiencing something like this, the fear may feel like evidence. It is not by itself. Your body may be reacting to a remembered world that does not match the room you are in. Let the room help you. Name things you can see. Listen to someone nearby. Feel the floor. You are here. We have another report, this one from a hospital in Manchester. A 12-year-old girl says she remembers living 6 days after the impact. That is new. Most early reports centered on the moment of impact or immediately after. This case includes an aftermath. She remembers evacuation shelters, water ration lines, a missing person wall. She remembers an emergency broadcaster saying, "If you are hearing this inland, remain inland." That phrase has now appeared in 2 other reports under review. So the remembered event is not limited to the impact moment. Some people remember surviving beyond it, days beyond, maybe weeks in some cases. That changes the psychological profile. This is not only flash trauma. Some people remember a whole aftermath, a world after Apophis hit, a world that does not exist. Mara.
That may be the worst part, because if someone only remembers the moment of impact, as terrible as that is, maybe you can tell yourself it's like a nightmare, a flash, a panic image, a fear response. But days, shelters, ration lines, missing person walls, that starts to feel like a lived history. People are remembering routines, where they slept, what they ate, who they looked for, how long phone batteries lasted. One woman says she remembers cutting her daughter's hair because there wasn't enough water to wash it. Her daughter is 9 and has long hair tonight. She keeps touching it. How do you call that a panic attack to someone who remembers the texture of hair in her hands? Maybe it is. Maybe clinically that's the right category. But emotionally, it's a life, a second life that nobody else can see.
A second life nobody else can see. Yeah? And that may become the central problem. If these memories persist, people may not simply recover by being told the event didn't happen. They may carry both worlds. We have an update from the Cognitive Crisis Network. They are advising families not to argue aggressively with affected individuals about whether the memories are real. Instead, they suggest grounding language. You are safe right now. I am here right now. The impact did not happen in this world. Let's check official information together. That phrase is interesting, in this world. I don't know if they intended the implications, but there it is. The impact did not happen in this world. It may be clinically useful because it does not force the person to immediately surrender the emotional reality of the memory. It focuses on the present, here, now, safe. That may be the best anyone can do in the first hours. We have another official statement from the Planetary Hazard Office. They are pushing back against claims that agencies are hiding an actual impact. Quote, global seismic networks, ocean monitoring systems, atmospheric sensors, satellite observations, radar tracking, and optical data all confirm no Apophis impact occurred. Claims of a concealed impact are false and physically impossible given the available evidence. That is good. Because conspiracy claims are spreading fast, there was no hidden impact. The memories may be real experiences in some neurological or psychological sense, but they do not correspond to a current physical disaster. That distinction is important. We are now hearing from some affected people who are frightened because they remember dying. This is very difficult. A man in Cape Town remembers being in an office tower when the glass came in. A woman in Lisbon remembers drowning in an underground station. A teenager in Toronto remembers being unable to find his little brother. All 3 are alive, physically unharmed, but they remember death or near death. Clinical teams are treating this like trauma exposure, even though the exposure is not physically verifiable, because trauma symptoms do not wait for philosophical clarity. If someone is shaking, vomiting, dissociating, or unable to recognize safety, they need care. Not debate. Mara, there's also the issue of families being re-traumatized by hearing the memories.
Yes, because the memories don't stay inside one person, they spill. A father tells his daughter he remembers her dying. Now the daughter has to live with being remembered dead. A wife tells her husband she buried him. He has to comfort her while also dealing with the fact that she has a whole grief for him he never experienced. A child hears a parent say, I lost you, and now the child is scared the parent might lose them again. So even the people who don't have the memories are affected. They become characters in someone else's disaster. And that's going to be hard for families. You want to comfort the person you love, but you're also hearing a version of your own death. That is a lot to ask anyone to hold.
It is, and it may be one reason officials are urging people to seek support rather than trying to handle this entirely at home. We have a new development from observatory data. A deep space tracking station recorded a weak anomalous return signal from Apophis approximately 9 minutes after closest approach. This is not a voice, not at this point. It may be a radar artifact, delayed reflection, processing error, or unrelated interference, but the timestamp is being reviewed because it appears slightly mismatched with the outgoing radar pulse. That is technical, and we should not overread it. However, because of the memory reports, Any anomaly connected to Apophis is now getting attention. The Planetary Hazard Office says the signal is under analysis and does not indicate impact or danger. No public action. We'll leave that there for now. A weak anomalous return signal under review. No interpretation. We have another clinical update. Case count now, more than 22,000 distress reports globally, with approximately 4,000 currently categorized as impact memory cases. Those numbers will change. Some reports will be reclassified, but the scale is now large enough that this is no longer anecdotal. It is a global event, not a physical impact event, a memory event. We have one more recurring phrase from multiple patients: correction successful. That is new. Several affected individuals say they remember hearing that phrase after the disaster, not during the impact, after. In shelters, on radios, over emergency broadcasts, in dreams before waking here, accounts vary. The phrase is correction successful. Some remember it as the last thing they heard before finding themselves back in the present after the safe flyby. That implies, if the memories are taken at face value, that the impact timeline was somehow corrected. Again, this is not official interpretation. Officials are not saying there was a timeline correction, but the phrase is now part of the shared memory content. Mara.
That phrase changes the fear again. Because if people remember correction successful, then they're not just remembering a disaster. They're remembering it being undone. And that is somehow both comforting and worse. Comforting because maybe this is the good world, the saved world, the one where Apophis missed. Worse because then the trauma came from somewhere. It belonged to a version of people who did not get to stay. And now the people here are carrying their last moments. I don't know what to do with that. I don't think anyone does.
We have an official caution from the Cognitive Crisis Network. Quote, phrases reported within memory episodes should not be treated as evidence of alternate timelines, retrocausal events, or successful intervention. Shared language may emerge through media exposure, social reinforcement, expectation, or unknown psychological mechanisms, end quote. That is the scientific caution. Shared language does not prove shared reality. But the unknown remains, and people will feel that unknown. Let's pause for a moment. Apophis safely passed Earth. No impact occurred. After closest approach, thousands of people began reporting vivid memories of an impact event that does not match physical reality. Many memories shared details, including warning phrases, a remembered Atlantic impact zone, emergency broadcasts, and now, in some cases, memories of days after the disaster. Public health officials are treating this as a mass traumatic memory event. Scientists are reviewing observational data for any trigger. The asteroid is moving away. The world is intact. But a growing number of people remember the world ending differently. We'll continue. We're continuing. I'm John Vale. Mara Ellison is here with me, and Apophis is now moving away from Earth. That part remains physically true. The asteroid passed safely. It is outbound. Tracking stations still have it. Radar and optical data continue to show no collision, no debris event, no atmospheric entry, no impact of any kind. Earth was not hit. But the number of people reporting memories of an impact is still rising. The latest estimate from the Cognitive Crisis Network is now over 36,000 distress reports globally, with more than 9,000 categorized as probable impact memory cases. Those numbers are rough. They will change. A lot of reports are still being checked, and some will be duplicates or panic reactions. But this is no longer something officials can describe as scattered anxiety. People in different countries, different languages, different viewing conditions are describing pieces of the same disaster that did not happen here. And the word here has become very important because clinicians are now using grounding phrases like, you are safe here. The impact did not happen here. Your family is alive here. They're trying not to fight people too hard on what they remember. They're trying to bring them back to the room they are actually standing in. That says a lot about where we are. Doctors are not confirming alternate timelines. Scientists are not confirming erased history. No official agency is saying another Earth was hit, but they are also learning that telling people that didn't happen is not enough, because to them it did. We have a new clinical summary from several hospitals working together. The memories now fall into three general groups. The first group remembers the approach and impact itself, the flash, the alert, the pressure wave, glass breaking, heat, water darkness, phones going down. The second group remembers the hours after. Sirens, evacuation routes, shelters, emergency broadcasts, family separation, hospitals, blocked roads, missing person walls. The third group is smaller, but it's growing. They remember days or weeks after the impact. That's the part that has changed the tone in the last hour. These are not only impact flashes anymore. Some people remember living in the aftermath. They remember routines, where they slept, what food was available, which roads were gone, which neighborhoods were quiet, which names were on walls. One patient in Manchester described a shelter under a train station that, in our world, is still open and normal tonight. He described a sign painted on the wall that said, "Remain inland." Officials checked the station. No such sign exists. Another patient in Brazil described a school gym being used as a triage center. The school exists. The gym exists. It is currently being used for a basketball tournament. A woman in Boston described spending 6 days in a church basement with 32 people, including a man named Elias, who taught children how to count canned food. No one has found an Elias matching that story, but 2 other patients in 2 other states have mentioned a shelter worker named Elias. That may be coincidence. It may be contamination through social media. It may be the way memory builds itself around emotional needs. Or it may be something we do not have language for yet. No one responsible is choosing an answer tonight. They're collecting the details. Mara, what does this feel like on the human side right now?
It feels like people are trying to grieve in a room where the dead keep walking in alive. That's the closest I can get to it. A woman remembers her brother dying in a hospital hallway. Then her brother calls her and says, "I'm fine, I'm watching TV." And she believes him. She knows he's alive. But she also remembers the hallway. So now there are 2 brothers in her mind, the living one on the phone and the dead one she held during a disaster that never happened here. People don't know where to put that, and the living people don't know what to do either. Imagine comforting someone who remembers your death. You're trying to say, "I'm here," but they're looking at you like you came back. That's not something normal family language can handle. We're seeing spouses sleeping in the same room tonight because one of them is afraid the other will vanish. Parents waking up kids just to check their faces. People calling relatives they haven't spoken to in years because they remember losing them. Some of that may be healing. Weirdly, some of it is going to hurt people because not every remembered relationship matches the real one. There are people remembering apologies that were never given, fights that never happened, last words with people they haven't seen in a decade, and now they're calling. At midnight, crying about a life the other person did not live.
Yeah, that's going to have consequences long after tonight, even if the memories fade, even if tomorrow morning doctors have a better explanation. People said things tonight they may not be able to take back. We have an update on the anomalous return signal detected after closest approach. This is from the Deep Space Tracking Office. They are now confirming that a weak packet was received on a radar return channel approximately 9 minutes after Apophis passed closest approach. They are still not calling it a message. The packet may be corrupted reflection data. It may be a processing artifact. It may be interference, but it contained a timestamp field that does not match the outgoing radar sequence. The timestamp appears to correspond to the exact moment of closest approach in the remembered impact accounts. That is why it is getting attention. The packet has not been publicly released. Officials say it is being analyzed by multiple teams. There is no hazard associated with it. And the asteroid remains outbound. We have a statement from the Planetary Hazard Office, quote, "Preliminary analysis of the anomalous packet does not alter the confirmed safe passage of Apophis. No physical impact occurred. The packet is under review for timing, origin, and data integrity anomalies." End quote. That's cautious, no physical impact, packet under review. Good. That's where the facts are. But there's something else. A reporter asked whether the packet contained readable text. The Planetary Hazard Office declined to answer. That doesn't mean yes, it means they declined to answer. Could be because they don't know. Could be because they don't want to release corrupted data. Could be because releasing anything now would feed panic. Still, the refusal is already spreading. People remember the phrases. They know the packet exists. Now they wanted to explain the memories. That may be asking too much of one damaged piece of data, but I understand why they want it. We have a new memory cluster from clinical interviews. This one involves a broadcast station, not a real station anyone has identified. People describe hearing a low-power emergency radio broadcast after the impact. Some say it came through car radios, some through battery radios, some through phones when networks were down. The station identified itself as Continuity Band 7. That phrase has now appeared in at least 18 interviews. Continuity Band 7. The broadcast reportedly repeated shelter instructions, water warnings, and location updates. One remembered line has appeared several times: if you are hearing this inland, remain inland. Another, do not return for coastal family. That one is ugly. Do not return for coastal family. People are reacting very strongly to it because it sounds like a command to abandon people. Officials are asking affected individuals not to act on any remembered instructions, obviously. There is no coastal disaster here. No reason to remain inland. No reason to avoid family near the coast. But imagine remembering that sentence and then calling your mother in Florida. That's happening tonight.
The remembered broadcasts are really unsettling because radio is supposed to orient people in a disaster. You turn it on when everything else is confused and someone tells you where to go, what road is closed, where water is, what number to call. In these memories, radio seems to be the thing people clung to after the impact. So now they're hearing remembered radio while listening to actual radio telling them it didn't happen. That's a very strange mirror. And I think people are starting to distrust both. Some are saying, if I remember the emergency broadcast, how do I know this broadcast is the real one? That's not paranoia exactly. It's what happens when memory and reality stop backing each other up. The normal way you know where you are is that the room, your body, and your memory agree. Tonight, for a lot of people, they don't.
The room, the body, and the memory. Yeah, and if those three don't agree, you need other people. You need trusted people nearby to help anchor you. That's why officials are asking affected individuals not to isolate. If you are experiencing these memories and you are scared, please reach out to someone you trust. Not a random forum, not a live stream chat trying to decode the event. A real person, someone who can help you stay present. We have new guidance from the Cognitive Crisis Network. They are recommending people use dual acknowledgement when speaking to affected loved ones. That means you do not validate the remembered impact as physically real, but you also do not dismiss the emotional experience. So instead of saying that never happened, stop saying it. They suggest, I believe you remember it. I'm here with you now. Or, I don't see that happening here, but I can see that you're scared. Or, we can check the official information together. That may sound small. It isn't. The wrong response tonight can make people feel insane or alone. The right response can help them stay connected to the present. We have another report involving children. Some children who watched Apophis are reporting memories too, though the numbers are not yet clear. Doctors are advising parents to avoid asking leading questions. Do not ask, do you remember the asteroid hitting? Ask simple present questions. How are you feeling? Do you know where you are? Do you want water? And if a child volunteers a disturbing memory, do not interrogate them for details. Comfort first, document later if necessary. The child's nervous system matters more than the information. That should be obvious, but tonight a lot of obvious things need saying. We have an update from the packet analysis. The anomalous return packet does contain readable characters. Officials are still calling it damage data. They are releasing the content because, according to the statement, unverified versions are already circulating. The packet contains a timestamp, then two words. The timestamp appears invalid relative to the radar system. The words are, correction incomplete. That is now confirmed as the content of the damaged packet. Officials are warning that this may be corrupted text, misread encoding, or unrelated data contamination. It is not being presented as a message from Apophis. It is not being presented as proof of timeline alteration. It is simply the readable output of the packet. I'm going to be careful and not repeat it too much, but you understand why people are reacting. A growing number of people remember an asteroid impact that did not happen. Some remember a phrase, correction successful. Now a damaged return packet associated with Apophis says, correction incomplete. Those phrases line up too neatly for comfort. That does not mean the scary interpretation is correct. It means the scary interpretation is now impossible to ignore. Mara, I can see your face. Go ahead.
It's just If people remember correction successful and the packet says correction incomplete, then the fear becomes, what part was incomplete? Was the impact prevented but the memory stayed? Was the world changed back but not cleanly? Or is the packet just garbage text that happens to land on the worst possible words? That last option should be comforting, but it isn't, because tonight everyone's mind is already full of impossible coincidences, so one more feels like too much. And I keep thinking about the people who remember dying. If they hear correction incomplete, they may think I wasn't supposed to remember, or worse, maybe it isn't finished. That could really hurt people, so I hope officials are ready for the psychological fallout of releasing that, even if they had to.
Yes, and the guidance is already being updated. If you are affected by these memories, the packet does not mean you are in danger right now. It does not mean the impact is about to happen. It does not mean the correction, whatever that word means in the packet, is going to fail physically. The asteroid is outbound, Earth is intact. Stay with what is present. That is the safest sentence tonight. Stay with what is present. We have a new physical tracking update. Apophis remains on outbound trajectory. No reversal, no deceleration anomaly, no fragmentation. No unusual emission detected after the packet window. It is leaving. That is still true. Whatever happened, if anything happened beyond human memory, the asteroid is moving away. We are seeing a new wave of people checking on specific locations from their memories. Some are driving to schools, churches, subway stations, coastal roads, hospitals, bridges, trying to compare the remembered disaster world to this world. Authorities are asking people not to do this tonight. Unless necessary, you may be distressed, you may be sleep deprived, you may not be safe to drive. And there may be many other people doing the same thing. Please don't turn remembered disaster routes into real traffic accidents. If you need to verify something, call someone, use maps, wait until morning, ask for help. Do not go wandering through an emotional disaster map at night. We have a case from Seattle where a man attempted to enter a school after hours because he remembered it as a shelter and wanted to see if the wall of names was there. Police responded. He was not arrested. He is being evaluated. This is the kind of thing officials are worried about. The remembered world may pull people into real places that can create real danger. Mara, I think the phrase disaster map is going to matter.
Yeah, people are carrying maps now, not on paper, but in their heads. Maps of damage that doesn't exist, and a map tells you where to go. That's what makes it dangerous. If someone remembers a bridge being gone, they may avoid it. If they remember a shelter, they may try to find it. If they remember someone dying in a neighborhood, they may rush there. The memory is not just emotional, it's navigational. It gives instructions, and if those instructions belong to a world that isn't here, following them can hurt people here. That's what officials have to manage now. Not just panic. Wrong world behavior.
Wrong world behavior. That's a chilling phrase, but it fits. We have another clinical finding. Some affected people can describe events after their remembered deaths, but only in fragmented form. Doctors are not sure whether that means the memories are constructed, shared, or transferred from others. For example, one patient remembers dying during the initial flash, but also recalls hearing correction successful later. That may be a contradiction, or it may be the way traumatic memory is assembling pieces from multiple sources. Clinicians are warning not to treat memory chronology as reliable. That is important. Even ordinary memory is not a recording. These memories, whatever they are, may be even less stable. So when someone says they remember a sequence, it may not be literal. Do not build certainty out of trauma fragments. We have a statement from an international group of neuroscientists, quote, current reports may represent an unprecedented shared false memory phenomenon triggered by a globally synchronized stress event. However, the density of matched sensory and narrative details requires careful study before conclusions are reached. End quote. That's measured. They are saying shared false memory phenomenon is possible. They are also saying the matched details are unusual. In science, that is about as dramatic as responsible language gets. We are approaching the 2-hour mark since closest approach. Apophis continues outbound. The memory cases continue rising, though the rate of new acute cases may be slowing in some regions. That may be because fewer people are watching replays after the advisory. It may be because the initial trigger window has passed, too early to know. Hospitals remain busy but not overwhelmed in most regions. Crisis lines are overloaded. Officials are asking people with mild distress to use local support networks where possible and reserve emergency lines for immediate danger. We have another update on the packet. The timestamp in the anomalous return does not correspond to tonight's current timeline after closest approach. That's the wording. It corresponds to a modeled impact event time from historical simulation archives. Wait, let me read that more carefully. The timestamp matches one of the old archived Apophis impact simulation markers used in pre-clearance hazard modeling years ago. That may be significant, or it may explain the text as contaminated archival data. This is important. If the packet picked up archived simulation data somehow, then correction incomplete might come from an old test file, not from any real event. Officials are checking that now. This could be a mundane explanation. Not fully mundane because the data still appeared where it shouldn't, but less impossible. Actually, hold on. The Planetary Hazard Office is clarifying the timestamp format matches archive simulation systems, but the specific timestamp does not exist in any known public or internal simulation file reviewed so far. So not a clean explanation. Format familiar, content unmatched. That's where it stands. Mara.
That almost feels worse, like the system is using our own disaster language back at us. Even if it's a glitch wearing the clothes of an old fear. And Apophis had so much old fear around it already. Maybe that matters psychologically. Maybe the reason this happened tonight, if it is psychological, is because the whole world had rehearsed the disaster in advance. We had the simulations, the graphics, the warnings, the old headlines, the name. Maybe when the asteroid came close, the mind had a disaster ready to load. But then the matched details, the people who remember the same shelters, the phrases that weren't broadcast, the packet. I don't know. I'm trying to stay skeptical. I really am. But skepticism is harder when the impossible keeps organizing itself.
That is a good way to say it. The impossible is organizing itself. And that is exactly why officials are not dismissing this, even while they reject the idea of a physical impact. We have a new report from a group of affected individuals comparing memories before the advisory told people not to post details. They claim several hundred people independently remembered the same date after the impact. Day 19, not a calendar date, a count. Day 19, in their memories, day 19 was when the emergency broadcast changed tone. Some say that was when the phrase "correction successful" first aired. Others say it was when the sky cleared enough to see the moon. Others say day 19 was when evacuation lists stopped being updated. This is not officially verified, but clinicians are seeing day 19 references as well. Again, memories of an aftermath lasting weeks. A world continuing after the impact, a world with its own timeline, a world that, as far as all physical evidence here shows, never happened. We have another listener message from someone who says they're affected. They write, "My husband keeps telling me our son is alive. I know he is. I can hear him playing in the next room. But I also remember carrying his backpack out of a shelter because he wasn't coming back. I don't want to remember that. I want this world only." A lot of people may feel that they do not want two versions. They do not want to be special witnesses. They do not want secret knowledge. They want the world where their child is in the next room. And honestly, that is the sanest thing anyone could want. Mara, one more longer reflection before we move toward the close.
I think we should say something to the people who don't have the memories too, because there's already a strange guilt forming. Some people are saying they feel left out. Then they feel awful for feeling left out, because why would anyone want trauma? But when a huge number of people claim to remember another version of Earth, those who don't may start wondering if they missed something important. Other people are suspicious of the affected. They think they're lying, exaggerating, chasing attention. Some are being cruel. And I think we need to be careful about both extremes. If you don't remember the impact, that doesn't mean you fail to see the truth. It may just mean you didn't experience the event, whatever it is. And if someone you love does remember it, you don't have to believe every literal detail to take their distress seriously. You can say, "I don't remember that, but I'm here." That may be enough for tonight. There's also the opposite problem, people treating affected individuals like prophets or survivors of a higher reality. Please don't. They're not tour guides to the apocalypse. They're people in shock. Some of them may never want to talk about what they remember. That should be respected. The world is going to want their stories. Their brains may need quiet.
We have one more official update from the Cognitive Crisis Network. They are naming 3 priorities for the next 24 hours. First, stabilize affected individuals and reduce repeat exposure to Apophis imagery. Second, collect reports in a controlled way to avoid contaminating memories. Third, investigate the anomalous packet and any connection between observation and memory onset. That's the plan. Care, documentation, investigation. In that order, care first. We have a final tracking update for this segment. Apophis is receding normally. No further anomalous packets have been detected. The asteroid remains intact and on outbound path. Physical danger from the flyby has passed. The psychological event is ongoing. That is the official split. Physical danger passed, memory event ongoing. This is Fictional Radio. Asteroid Apophis approached Earth tonight and passed safely. The impact did not happen. No ocean rose, no sky burned, no cities fell, no emergency broadcast announced contact. And yet thousands remember otherwise. They remember the flash, the sirens, the shelters, the names on walls, the days after, and the moment someone or something said the correction had worked. Then a damaged return packet from Apophis gave the world 2 words that made the relief feel incomplete. Correction incomplete. No one knows what that means. Maybe it means nothing. Maybe it means the memories are the leftover smoke from a disaster that was removed before it reached us. Maybe it means the human mind, given enough fear and a moving point in the sky, can build a whole ruined world and wake up grieving it. For now, Earth is still here. Apophis is leaving. The people remembered dead or alive. The cities remembered broken or standing. But for many, the safe world no longer feels untouched, because they did not watch the end of the world tonight. They remembered surviving it, and some part of them may always be listening for the alert that never aired. Good night.